know because I fought alongside her. That's why when I heard Kina was launching her campaign for U.S. Congress, I jumped at the opportunity to get back in the fight with her. I want to see Kina lead Illinois 7 because I know that she will bring this district into a new era. An era of necessary long-term and equitable change and community unification. I'm thrilled to be joined today by community activists and leaders who share the same vision for Illinois 7 and are more than ready to help Kina lead this movement for change. So please, let's welcome our first speaker, Chairman of the 14th Ward Independent Political Organization and co-coordinator of Coalition for Change, Illinois Free, Jose Torres.
Buenos dias.
Good morning from the west side, the neighborhood of Austin, where Kina is not only rooted and ready, but homegrown. The 7th district as our new congresswoman. In these most progressive on the west side. Because it's time to change. 25 years of the same policies. Enough. We need to continue working and expanding the progressive base, and I cannot think of anybody better than our own Kina Collins. Someone that not only has fought to build coalitions in the state of Illinois, but actually reach across the aisle and work to pass legislation under a Republican governor in the state of Illinois. And you can imagine what she can do under a Biden administration. But it's important that we not only support Kina, but that we work to get her not just on the ballot, but that we get her elected so that when she does win and she gets sent over to Congress, we have a leader that is not just going to represent downtown, Streeterville, and every other big corporation miles away from here, but will represent organizations and neighborhoods like Austin and make sure that we get our due process, that we get the funds that we need to continue growing, and that we end gun violence in Chicago. Yeah. So, I ask you today, not just to support Kina, but to make sure that you go out and door knock, that you get ready for petition season, that you donate because this costs money. And we are going against someone who's really heavily bankrolled by a lot of PACs, not just corporate PACs, but anti-healthcare PACs. And so, let's all go and cause some good trouble and get Kina elected in the 7th district.
Thank you so much, Jose. Our next speaker is youth activist and organizer for Illinois Youth Climate Movement. Please welcome Angela Diaz.
Good morning, guys. My name is Angela Diaz. I'm 17 and I go to Langside College Prep. I met Kina around 2 years ago when she personally reached out to my organization and invited us to have a sit down with her. Immediately after that sit down, my team knew that we wanted to endorse and back Kina in any way that we could. She was present. She was there. She was taking notes. She wanted to see what you have to say. Not only was she present, but she was active. One thing about Kina is that she talks the talk, but she walks the walk right after. She has action and she puts action behind her words, and that's something that we saw when she was striking with us. When she was using her platform to elevate ours, and she's done that time and time again with several issues across the board. It's amazing because Kina's straight out of Austin, and that's something that I learned that day. And so she not only knows the in and out of policy on the environmental level, but she has experienced it firsthand. Kina knows what environmental racism is. Kina has lived through it. She knows what it means to have polluted air. She knows what it means to have contaminated soil and not have clean water or access to it. She understands what it means when environment is correlated to gun violence. She understands that environment is correlated to healthcare. She understands that environment is correlated to school shutdowns like the one behind us. And that's the type of leader that we need, because for too long in Washington we've had representation that cannot relate to us. And how will you represent us if you cannot relate? Kina is one that can relate, and she is active in their community. Something that we've seen that Representative Davis has to work on. We are currently in a state of a climate crisis. We don't have time. We must cut emissions. We must enact Green New Deals. We must bring jobs to the Illinois 7 that are healthy. We can't afford to wait. We can't afford to wait 1 or 2 more cycles for us to have a good representative represent us up in Washington, especially when we have more of great candidates, more than qualified candidates right here, right in front of us.
Right.
Yes.
That's why both myself and my organization is so excited to represent and just endorse KINA throughout this mission. So we have to hit the ground running. We have to knock on every door. We have to make every single phone call we can to make sure that our KINA from Austin goes to Washington.
Thank you. The youth on this campaign is fired up and ready to go. Another youth activist and founder of the Oak Park Youth Committee for Change. Please welcome Lily Manning.
Hi, my name is Lily Manning. I'm 17 and I go to Oak Park River Forest High School. And in August 2020, with the help of community activist Kate Redling, I created a youth activism volunteer group called Youth Committee for Change as a way to amplify youth voices in Oak Park. I've often been told that I should wait until I'm an adult, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I have no right to involve myself in things that don't affect or involve me. But as a soon-to-be adult, I and others my age know that every decision made right now affects my future. We're not willing to sit quiet and let immoral decisions ruin the planet that we call home. Too often, it's difficult to find adults that have the experience, benevolence, and power to support us. Luckily, Youth Committee for Change is connected to KINA, who has played an instrumental role in guiding our group and fighting alongside us. She has dedicated her time and knowledge to mentoring us and to helping us organize and create power. I support KINA because KINA understands the urgency of this movement, and she understands the importance of youth organizing. She is powerful, driven, and I know that when she's elected, she will remain connected to grassroots organizers on the ground, and that she will serve the community as a whole. My generation is tired of politicians who put the need of corporate donors ahead of the needs of the people they serve. But KINA is not one of those people.
No.
She's one of the most selfless women I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I can't wait to be able to exercise my right to vote for what will be the first time in the 2022 midterm election to elect KINA to Congress. I'm ready to organize youth in the community and to stand with me and support KINA, one of the first people to involve youth in her campaign and one of the only to consider the impact her decisions in office will have on our future. Adults, I urge you to vote as if your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren's lives depend on it, because they do.
Yes.
We
Yes.
need more people like KINA in government who will nourish the growth of the future leaders of America. This right here is the first school that my dad went to, and it was shut down by Rahm Emanuel as an impact of the systemic disinvestment in our community. When you shut down these schools, the people who can leave and the people who can't are stuck here with an empty shell of a school. And that's why the communities in our district are suffering, because we're putting our faith in politicians that are not putting their faith in us.
Right.
KINA, I am beyond honored to have received the opportunity to endorse you, and I cannot wait to see what you do in office. Vote KINA!
Thank you, Lily. Our next speaker has been organizing for social justice for over 10 years and is a prominent fair wage advocate throughout Illinois. Please help me welcome Nataki Rose.
All right, when we fight,
We win!
we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
All right. So my name is Nataki Rose. I am a lead organizer for One Fair Wage. I have been organizing in Chicago for 10 years, organizing tip workers, restaurant workers, bartender servers, to try to raise the federal minimum wage from a $2.13 to end sub-minimum wage. And so, give it up! Sub-minimum wage is what we call slave wages. Over 75% of black women and Latino women suffer from slave wages across our great nation. And so you say, how do I know KINA? I know KINA because of the good fight for standing up for women and sexual harassment against tip workers and restaurant workers. I know KINA because she came down to the Federal Plaza, Women's International Day, It is a 213. How do we connect? Because she will be running for office in the biggest restaurant district in District 7. And so how are we connected? We are connected because we are advocating for temp workers, restaurant workers, to bring them up to a $15 minimum wage.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is on the agenda. And so we know that Kina Collins will be the perfect woman to run for this position, for this seat in the 7th district, will represent great women that are working, trying to survive on minimum wage, on a $4.95, on a $2.13, on a $3.35, all across. Just check it out across the great state. And so when we send Kina to Washington, she will be putting a vote to end sub-minimum.
That's right.
I know for sure millions of women across America will always appreciate that vote. Right now, we have to hit the ground because downtown, we have a whole lot of temp workers, restaurant workers that need her voice, that needs her representation, that needs to know that she will end the 213 sub-minimum wage. And she will stand up for women of all colors and all races to represent Illinois 7 across this great state. And that's what we need, right?
Yeah.
And so when they say, why should I end? Why do we work together? Why do I see her? Because through this great pandemic, she also knows that workers have been working through the pandemic without health insurance, without unemployment, facing sexual harassment.
That's not right.
Greater massive of sexual harassment has went on for women across the board. Women are suffering from food stamps. Women being on food stamps. Women right now are facing eviction. Why? Because we are the leaders of our household. So yes, we need a leader. Yes, we need a change. Yes, we say yes to Kina Collins. Because she is going to represent women that are working hard, women that are trying to survive, women that want to make change, women that need to end sub-minimum wage, women that are fighting for their families. And so that's what we need to send to take us to the next level, because what Kina Collins is good trouble. So right now today, I'm proud to say, working with my sister, even getting arrested with her downtown in the Gold Coast, and we got to go back there to remind them that it's just not their town, their city, their state, it's all of our states. And so to do that, we have to level the playing field and make sure that we're making a decent wage, a living wage to take care of our family. And so I thank you for standing with us. Thank you for doing everything, keeping the voice, keeping the movement alive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give it up for Kina. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. All right now.
Thank you so much, Nataki. The support that Kina has is phenomenal. Thank you so much. Our next speaker has served in the nonprofit sector for over 14 years and
Yes.
She wants us to know and see the truth, and she wants us to know and see what we deserve.
That's
the
right.
truth is that
That's
the Austin
right.
community has suffered way too long with
Yes.
healthcare inequities, education inequities,
Yes.
economic development inequities, and gun violence that should have long been gone from this community. The truth is that there is an incumbent in office that has given up on what the people deserve and need, that has turned a blind eye to the voice and to the plans and the collective visions of the people of the Austin community, of the people of Illinois District 7. The truth is that the incumbent has allowed us to only receive breadcrumbs from the bottom of the barrel for far too long. The other thing that Kina wants us to see is what we deserve. And what we deserve is in her. What we deserve is a leader whose office is wherever her people are. Her office is wherever there is a cry for help. Her office is wherever there needs to be someone's voice uplifted. Her office is wherever someone needs to have their plan helped and build for them. Her office is wherever people feel like they are silenced. Her office is wherever her people need to be. She has an open door policy in our office. Everybody is welcome. She understands what the people need and deserve because this is her ground zero.
Ooh, yes.
This is
All
her
right.
ground
Ground
zero. And
zero.
right now,
Yes.
people in the Austin community in Illinois District 7 need to finally understand that you deserve a leader like Kina.
Yes.
You do
Yes,
not
ma'am.
deserve to only receive the breadcrumbs at the bottom of the barrel because the incumbent is tired, is scared, doesn't want to budge, is comfortable in their position. You deserve a leader that will stomp the ground day in and day out, will get arrested day in and day out.
Yes. Yes.
Day in and day out. Because trust me, Kina Collins ain't new to this.
Yes,
She's
she
true
sure
to
is.
this.
Oh, man, okay.
This is her ground zero.
Yes.
Someone said earlier, this is where she is homegrown. Not only is this where she is homegrown, this is where her dreams have been made. This is our example. So trust and know that right now we can no longer say, oh, we hope and we wish for change. If you hope and you wish, then you better understand what you deserve and get there through Miss Kina Collins. Because she is not only going to take us there, she is going to bring us there.
Yeah.
She is not only going to say, oh, I can do this on my own, because she understands the power of building collectively. She understands the power of educating her community, of giving them the tools that they need. Okay?
Okay.
So, what are we going to do? We're going to get her to D.C. Her office going to be wherever it needs to be for us. This is her ground zero, and the change starts now with the leader you deserve.
Yes.
I'm telling you, we have some fighters on this campaign. Our next speaker has been an active, is the lead for Indivisible Western Springs and a leadership committee member of Coalition for Change Illinois 3. Please help me welcome Abby McKenzie.
Hello, my name is Abby McEntee. I'm an activist with Indivisible Western Springs in Kina's sister district, Illinois 3, where we've long been at work to support progressive candidates like Kina, who will fight hard for our values and for positive change in this time when we need that kind of leadership the most. I'm here today because Kina and her campaign are about building a strong coalition so that together we can bring real and much needed change to all of Illinois.
That's right.
I first met Kina not through politics, but as a volunteer for Moms Demand Action. And in that role, I saw firsthand her extensive work on gun violence prevention. Her drive to face such a difficult issue head on is inspiring, and it's why we need her representing Illinois 7. We need her because she is already doing the work. She is already showing up out in the community, demanding justice, demanding that we focus on the issues that are most important to her community. And it's why I believe Kina belongs in Congress. The 7th District has long been a beacon for progressive values all over Illinois. But recently that fire seems to have dimmed. I believe Kina is the person who will reignite the movement, who will lead and not follow on top of In my district, we fought hard to bring progressive representation to our community, and by coming together, we accomplished that when we elected Bree Newman in 2020. I know that Kina can bring that same kind of representation right here to aisle 7, and that's why I'm thrilled she's running for Congress, and it's why I'm proud to be here as Indivisible Western Springs endorses Kina Collins as Illinois 7's next Congresswoman.
Our next speaker is an active advocate for investment in housing, healthcare, jobs, transportation, and broadband access in the over-policed and disinvested communities in Cook County. Please help me welcome Kate Redmond.
I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be here this morning and to be part of this moment. My name is Kate Redling. I live in the western suburbs of the Illinois 7th Congressional District, and I learned about Kina a few years ago through her community organizing and her political campaign work, but I met her one night at a community dinner in River Forest, and I recognized immediately that Kina was all about community, about building community, about maintaining it, about making connections between all of us and the collective power that we share. When Kina sees an issue, she acts, but she doesn't act impulsively. She is methodical, she is determined, she is fierce in her assessment of deep needs and bold solutions. Just like the thousands of other folks who've been systematically disinvested and disadvantaged living in these blocks, Kina comes to work with a first-hand experience about what is needed and a clear view of the disparity that exists across our country and right here in our district. We have got to recognize that, y'all. We have got to speak to that, and we need representation that sees it and addresses it.
That's right.
Kina can lead in the streets, and she can write and pass legislation. Kina has a deeply felt vision of our collective interdependence and a clarity of the process of the work that it is going to take for us to create real and lasting change. Friends and neighbors, we do not have the luxury of giving allegiance to a candidate simply because they took steps to help our organization or help us personally. We need to act in the best interest of our entire community. We must act in the best interest of Chicagoland, of all of Illinois, and of Illinois 7th District. Now is the time, and we must demand proactive and visible representation for the needs right here in our community. Kina understands the importance of representation at every level of government. We need federal legislators who will help close loopholes that allow illegal guns to flow into Illinois. That's right. To make sure that corporate tax loopholes are closed so that ultra-wealthy people and corporations pay their fair share. Woo! And she supports folks fighting for equity on every other level of government. We cannot get as far as we need to go unless we are all pulling in the same direction equally hard. Kina will always be pulling the hardest. We cannot be complacent in a moment that requires bold action. And in this moment, what is bold and what is required is electing representation that is accessible and accountable now and every day forward. Kina's been taking bold action from the very beginning, from being out in the streets and shutting down Michigan Avenue to force Rahm Emanuel to release the tapes of Laquan McDonald's murder, to writing and passing statewide legislation to protect the rights of women and girls, including trans rights, under a Republican governor. So, we know that Kina has what it takes to get the job done. We have what it takes to get her there. We need to show up. We need to donate. We need to go to KinaCollins.com. We need to become a monthly donor. We need to show up to all the canvases. We need to talk to all of our friends. We need to do all the social media. We need to raise all of the money to get her elected because Kina never has and never will take a dime from corporate PAC money. Kina is grassroots funded by individual donors like me, like you, like everybody here. this. We know that organized people and organized money gets us accountability and gets us our candidates elected. So please join me in supporting Kina Collins to represent the 7th Congressional District.
So much, Kate. It's almost time for Kina to speak. I know everyone's waiting on it.
Yes.
Bring up the Executive Director of Justice Democrats, Alex Rojas.
All right, hey everybody.
Hey.
As you heard, I'm the Executive Director at Justice Democrats. We could not be more honored and excited to be here to announce our support for Kina Collins in this district. For those of you that may not know about the work that we do, we're a grassroots organization dedicated to recruiting and electing the next generation of diverse, working-class, progressive leaders in Congress by uplifting local leaders to challenge corporate-backed politicians, including Democratic incumbents. And that's why we're here. Kina is an incredible human being, and as you heard, an incredibly accomplished local leader that is indisputable. What this moment demands, though, is not incremental change. It's running towards our biggest problems and taking the responsibility and tackling them head on and not waiting for someone else to go and solve them. Illinois 7 is the most unequal district in America. This district is home to the wealthy financial district, luxury hotels, big tech companies, but also neighborhoods with unemployment as high as 35%. That's right. Lead and drinking water. Right now, you can drive to Streeterville, just 9 miles. You can see a 30-year life expectancy gap. This district simply does not have the time to waste playing politics with people's lives. Our communities don't have the luxury of time to wait for solutions to become a reality for the next 24 years. And I respect Congressman Danny Davis's tenure, but the job description has changed. We can no longer expect the same leaders that are part of the establishment that got us here to be able to lead us out of it into the future that we know that we deserve. This campaign and our movement at Justice Democrats is about meeting a moment in history with solutions that match the scale, the scope, and the urgency that this moment demands. To go at our biggest problems with ruthless and compassionate focus on the poor and working people of this country and this district who have been forgotten and left behind. People who have faded into the background while politicians in D.C. have only gotten richer and more comfortable just clinging on to power without actually doing much of it when they have it. That means we need to support leaders who are going to fight for Medicare for all, who are going to refuse to take worker PAC money, who are going to support a just transition and a Green New Deal to make sure no workers get left behind, and will always put their communities first before playing politics with people's lives. And as so many have said, Chicago and Illinois 7 deserve this.
Yes.
They deserve
Yes.
They deserve nothing less. They deserve a representative who lives and breathes this city and believes in the full potential of every city. And as Kina says, it's not just about how you vote. It's about how hard you fight.
That's right.
Now, without further ado, candidate for Congress in Illinois 7 and hopefully future Congresswoman of this district, Kina Collins.
Even though some of y'all know me, I'm pretty loud. I got a big mouth.
Yes, we love you.
My mom said I always knew you'd run for office because when we taught you how to talk, we couldn't get you to shut up. So, thank you for everybody who is out here today. I'm overwhelmed with emotion. And really in my leadership, I don't like to do a lot of the talking because as you can hear from the speakers that's coming up here, they know what they need.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to confuse us in this moment. We are the experts of our community.
Yes.
We don't need
Yes.
to sit in a seat for 40 years, for 30 years, for 24 years
To
to
figure
say
it out.
that we are going to fight these fights and we are going to win.
Yes. Yes.
My name is Kina Collins.
campaign, as you've heard from the speakers, I was born and raised here in the South Austin neighborhood.
Yes.
I'm the granddaughter and the great-granddaughter of the Great Migration.
Yeah.
And I want to take some time to unpack that, because my grandparents came from the South, fleeing Jim Crow laws, moved to the North for better opportunities, and just found more sophisticated discrimination and racism on the west side of Chicago. That is a story of many Black Chicagoans.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that my grandparents landed in the Austin community. Because Austin is home to organizers.
Yes.
Austin is a place where Fred Hampton said that you can jail the revolutionary, but you will never be able to jail the revolution. So I'm rooted in that sense, in those leaders who come before me. I come from a large working class family. There's a lot of us, y'all. I have 6 brothers and sisters, and both of my parents are in unions. My dad is Teamster, my mom is SEIU, and so you know what that means?
Yes.
They taught me to fight for the many, not just the wealthy few.
Right.
They taught me the importance of integrity, hard work, and keeping community at the core. And that's what we're going to take with us all the way to Congress.
That's right.
When I was asked on where I was going to do my announcement, I had to sit and think about it. Because while we could have picked a really posh place downtown, a really comfortable place in the western suburbs, I chose to show the world what unity looks like when you reclaim spaces that millionaires and billionaires try to tear to the ground.
That's right.
Rahm Emanuel was a mayor who is a Democrat who people think represent the city of Chicago.
No,
Does he
he don't.
represent the city of Chicago?
No,
We know he doesn't
no.
because we ran him out of the city of Chicago.
Yes.
But before he was ran out of the city of Chicago, he, with surgical precision, with his wealthy friends who don't send their kids to public school, decided to take advantage of neighborhoods like the South Austin neighborhood and gut our public education system by conducting the largest public school shutdown in American history.
Yes.
This is Robert Emmett Elementary. My mother, that SEIU union worker, is a city cross guard walker. And for 25 years, she's watched kids here on the west side of Chicago come to school, and she's crossed them to safety. This school, this playground, used to be bustling with laughter. Little girls with the click-clack sounds of double dutch. Kids running with their backpacks that were almost bigger than them, ready to go to class.
Yes.
And now, what sits behind us is an empty shell. This is what violence looks like in the community.
Yes.
So while people have used Chicago as a political punching bag in talking about gun violence, understand that this is failed leadership and failed public policy.
Woo!
This has lasting impact on the community. And these are the fights that we're supposed to be fighting. Rahm Emanuel shut down 28 schools in the Illinois 7. And most of them were Black and brown schools. That is not by coincidence. And the reason why school districts felt emboldened was because he had charter school and education officials around him, and because rich people are writing our laws. And that's why we have to get money out of politics. Right. The Illinois 7th Congressional District is one of the most diverse districts in the country, yet one of the most unequal. So when we talk about having a progressive in office, we can't see those results being played out in our communities. And while certain portions of this district have flourished, what we can't deny, in the last 24 years of Congressman Davis being in office, other communities have been left behind. And I live in these communities that have been left behind here in the South Austin neighborhood. If you live in Streeterville, in the downtown portion of Chicago, a swanky, wealthy portion of the district, your life expectancy is 90 years. If you travel to Inglewood, that life expectancy drops to 60. A 30-year gap based off of what zip code you live in. And that ain't right. We should not have to live in communities where we don't have fresh produce in our schools, but we have lead pumping through the pipes in our water. We shouldn't have to live in communities where we have to pawn off the hate from one group to the next. And we shouldn't have a representative telling us that these issues are too big and too hard to fix. I never understood why people ran for office just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for. We should be fighting for all of these things. Over 20% of the population lives below the poverty line in our district. And while we have some of the wealthiest of the wealthy living in Illinois 7, we have also some of the most working class people who live here as well. And as we've seen in this pandemic, the essential workers were essential all along. They are the folks who've been the backbone of this economy. And so I want us to keep that into the forefront of our minds. It's the reason why I protest for one fair wage. Because $15 is the floor. It is not the ceiling. We've got a long way to go. We have a long way to go, and I'm so excited to start this journey with you. One of my earliest memories here in the South Austin community was witnessing a child gunned down in front of my childhood home. I knew that child, and I knew the shooter too. That story is not unique across the United States of America. Whether you're a student that was in Parkland, whether you're a kid on the south side of Chicago, there are still 7-year-olds all across this country who are witnessing that same level of violence. But what I want people to understand was that the bullet was flying long before anybody pulled the trigger. Because when you shut down public schools, when you pump lead in our water, when you spend our money to build cop academies instead of the resources we need in this community, that is the bullet flying before anybody pulls the trigger. This incident changed the entire trajectory of my life. Because what I also understood was that gun violence wasn't just everyday community violence. Gun violence is suicide. Gun violence is domestic violence. And folks who had to shelter in place with their abusers in this pandemic. Gun violence is mass shootings that occur across this country every single year, and our Congress does absolutely nothing about it. Gun violence is Laquan McDonald being shot 16 times and then having his murder covered up. That is also gun violence. And so what I've spent my life doing is understanding that we need the protest, we need the frontline people who can do this work. But we also need to be in the policy room. We also need to be bringing that perspective and pushing back on the narrative that we just shouldn't have the resources. And so in the last few years, I've had the honor of leading one of the largest nonprofits here in the state of Illinois around gun violence prevention. I've had the honor of standing alongside Black Lives Matter. I had the honor of educating health agencies and social service agencies to say we need to take and remove guns out the house that maybe when you are harm to yourself or to the public and you're a domestic abuser. And so these are the fights that I'm going to take with me all the way to Congress. And all the congressional leaders who constantly tell us about your thoughts and prayers, keep your thoughts and prayers. Because I'm a Christian woman. And the Bible also says faith without works is dead. And our Congress, right now, our Congress is not moving on these issues. It is not enough for you to tell the families and the survivors of gun violence that you are thinking of them and you are praying for them, but you are not actively working to save their lives. And so, for everybody who has something to say about the city of Chicago and gun violence, in this election and in this campaign cycle, I challenge you to say it to our face. Because we're doing the work in our community. And we want to bring that story to the forefront. Gun violence is the single biggest issue and crisis in this district. And we need a fighter. not just somebody who's going to stick their political flag in the ground, not someone who's just going to put their name on a support letter. We need somebody who's going to bring these organizations together that are already doing amazing work, and so that they're not organizing in silos, and so that we are working and fighting together.
That's right.
Yes.
I want to tell a quick story before I close about how I knew I was ready to run for office. In 2017, this is after LaQuan McDonald, we organized, we pushed Mayor Emanuel out, we got a new state's attorney, we got new city council, well, we were preparing to get new city council members, we were doing the work. I realized once again that the work wasn't just on the protest line, but it was in the policy room. The former occupant of the White House, was rolling back Obama-era policies around civil rights. And one of those policies was the White House Council on Women and Girls, that basically forced federal agencies to look at their public policies through a gender lens. And when he did that, I came back to the state of Illinois and crafted legislation called House Bill 5544, the Illinois Council on Women and Girls Act.
That's right.
Yes. And it talked about closing the pay wage equity gap. It talked about making the council racially proportionate to the state, to advise the governor and state lawmakers. It talked about including the voices of non-binary and trans people to the table. It talked about all the things that we need to be talking about when we talk about inclusion in government. And people tell me, no way, Bruce Brown isn't going to sign that into law. And my response was, we're not asking him, we're telling him.
Yes.
We were in a watershed moment then, and we are in a watershed moment now. My bill went up to committee, and the Republicans said, you basically need to take the transgender language out of your bill, or we are going to advise other Republicans not to vote on this legislation. And my response to them was, not without a fight. If you want to vote in a transphobic way, let your record reflect that.
That's right.
But we are not going to believe in a politics of leaving people behind.
Yes.
My bill passed out of committee. We traveled across the state. We built a coalition all across the state in dozens of counties. It passed in the House. It passed in the Senate. And we forced Bruce Rauner to sign it into law. In 2008, it was actually interesting that was sparked by President Obama's civil rights policy. Because in 2008, Barack Obama told us, yes, we can. In 2022, I'm saying, yes, we better. We don't have a choice. We don't have an option to stand on the sideline. We're seeing our voting rights cut. We're seeing reproductive rights threatened. We're seeing unions trying to be bust up by millionaires and billionaires.
That ain't right.
No.
So, yes, we better. We better get it together. The decision to challenge Congressman Davis was not an easy decision. Congressman Davis has been my congressman since I was 5 years old. Essentially, the only congressman that I've ever known. But when you've been in Washington for 24 years, you become a part of that system. When you take corporate donations, when you miss votes, when you don't have the steam to keep up with the community meetings that are happening in pressing and urgent moments, it's time. It's not only time for the next generation of leaders to pick up the torch, it's our responsibility to do so.
That's right.
And so I ask people who have voted for Congressman Davis for decades, give our campaign a shot. Listen to our policies, probe us, hold us accountable in the process. And unfortunately, I've been at community meeting after community meeting, and I just have not seen the Congress. And so that is why we're primarying Congressman Davis. And that's why we're going to win.
Yeah.
In closing, I just want to remind us that we have to be held accountable to the groups in this district. And I'm so excited about the energy. But we have to continue to be boots on the ground to make sure that whether it's fighting for gun violence, healthcare, environmental justice, that we're listening, that we're learning, from people who are experiencing these issues on grander scales than we could ever imagine. This moment requires us to rise to the occasion. And this could be our darkest hour or our brightest hour. And I think it's going to be our best hour.
Yes, yes.
The voters in this midterm are going to have two choices. They can vote for the district as it is currently, or they can vote for the district that it should be. We should be the district fighting for a Green New Deal.
Yes,
We
yes.
should be the district that does not accept corporate money from pharmaceutical companies or private insurance companies.
Yes.
We should be the district that says it is not right that they spend $100 million incarcerating people on the west side of Chicago. We should be the district that says we believe in young people, even if they can't vote, they should be a part of democracy. We should be the district that's leading the nation on these progressive issues and these progressive values.
Yes.
And we should be a district that's ready to shift the paradigm of what leadership looks like in this district.
Yes.
We cannot have a government for and by the people if it's not represented by all of the people. And so I thank you for joining me in this fight. I'm ready. Are y'all ready?
Yes.